Polar bears, also known as Ursus maritimus, are a vulnerable species, according to the IUCN Red List. Niche. Polar bears sit at the top of the food chain. They are specialized predators of seals, and the remains of these seals provide food for the Arctic wildlife. Therefore, they have an important role in the overall health of the marine environment. The habitat of polar bears is the Arctic sea ice. As you can see in the map, the distribution is only in the Arctic Ocean. Polar bears are classified as marine mammals because they spend most of their lifetime on the sea ice of the Arctic Ocean. The most important habitats for polar bears are the edges of packed ice, where currents and wind interact, forming a continually melting and refreezing matrix of ice patches and leads. These are the areas where polar bears can find the greatest number of seals. Biological factors. Reproductive rate. Pregnant polar bears need to eat a lot in the summer and fall to build up enough fat reserves to survive the denning period. They seek out maternity dens in October or November. Sows give birth to usually one or two 1-pound cubs and then nurse them until they reach about 20 to 30 pounds before emerging from the den in March or April. The young are born from November through January, while the mothers are hibernating. Female polar bears can produce 5 litters in their lifetime, which is one of the lowest reproductive rates of any animal. The mating season is late March to May. The gestation is about 8 months with delayed implantation, and the litter size is 1 to 4 cubs, though 1 or 2 cubs is most common. So as you can see, polar bears have a really low reproductive rate. This makes them more vulnerable. Number of polar bears. The World Conservation Union estimates that there are between 20,000 and 25,000 polar bears in the world, although scientists say that by 2050, two-thirds of the world's polar bears could disappear. Migratory behavior. As the sea advances and retreats each season, individual polar bears may travel thousands of miles per year to find food. Feeding level. Polar bears feed mostly on rigged seals and bearded seals. This makes them more vulnerable since they have a small number of prey. Their diet mainly consists of these because they need large amounts of fat to survive. Polar bears spend over 50% of their time hunting for food, but less than 2% of their hunts are successful. They are also known to eat walrus, beluga whale, and bowhead whale carcasses, birds' eggs, and rarely vegetation. External pressures from humans. First, there are polar bear-human conflicts. As climate change forces bears to spend longer time onshore, they come in contact more often with Arctic coastal communities and others working in the Arctic. Unfortunately, these interactions sometimes end badly for both humans and bear, and they can each end up dead. Industrial impacts. In the Arctic, most industrial development has been on relatively small pieces of land. As summer sea ice retreats, a new ocean is emerging, which allows more opportunities for industrial development at sea and on large parcels of land. At the same time, the retreating ice is resulting in more polar bears spending longer periods on land for denning. These factors combined are putting polar bears and industrial activities on potential collision course. Offshore petroleum installations and operations in the Arctic are expected to increase in number. This expansion would likely affect polar bears and their habitats in many ways, including the following. Contact with spilled oil would be fatal. An oil supply would affect the entire food chain. Noise generated from onshore and offshore oil operations could cause disturbance. Increased Arctic shipping represents a risk to polar bears as traffic by barges, oil tankers, and cargo ships in Arctic waters increase, so do the risk of oil spills and human disturbance to polar bears. Unsustainable hunting. Many Arctic areas have strong polar bear management and monitoring plans, but there are few places where unsustainable hunting appears to be happening, including unreported and illegal hunting. Hunting is also occurring in areas where the subpopulation status, stable or declining, is uncertain. Global warming. Polar bears depend on sea ice as a platform from which to hunt seals, rest, and breed. For more than 20 years, the summer sea ice has been decreasing in size and melting for longer periods of time. Bears must move longer distance to stay with the rapidly receding ice. In most areas, they come ashore when ice melts and rely on fat shores until the ice refreezes so they can go back and hunt. Some polar bears, especially in the south of the range, where sea ice is gone longest, now suffer from malnutrition. In extreme cases, especially females with cubs, they may face starvation. Traditional prey species may be less accessible in new ice environment, and seals that use the ice are predicted to fare poorly in the warming Arctic region. Climate change is also resulting into more habitat fragmentation. As Arctic ice melts, polar bears are affected by increasing shipping activities and a rise in opportunities for oil and gas development. How are people helping? Government. The US government released a plan that could save the polar bear. The Polar Bear Conservation Management Plan, which focuses on actions for the two US subpopulations in Alaska, was introduced by the US Fish and Wildlife Service, stresses the importance of climate change mitigation in curbing the loss of the polar bear sea ice habitat. Non-governmental. The WWF supports community projects in Alaska and Russia to prevent unintended and potentially fatal encounters between polar bears and people. Local polar bear patrol teams help keep towns and bears safe. Better lighting near public places, electric fencing, bear-proof food storage containers, and warning plans for when bears enter communities all help reduce conflict. For example, in northern Canada Hudson Bay area, for the first time in recent years, no polar bears were killed to protect the community during 2012. WWF and its partners are willing to understand the impact of different threats, such as climate change and expansion of industry in the Arctic, are having on different polar bear populations. For many years, they have run a polar bear tracker, using WWF supporting research teams to monitor some of the animals by satellite. By tracking these bears, scientists can map a polar bear's range and examine how habitat use may change in response to shifting sea ice. WWF and the Coca-Cola Company joined forces to help protect the polar bear and its habitat. Building upon Coca-Cola's support since 2007 of WWF's polar bear conservation efforts, they launched the Arctic Home campaign in North America during the 2011 holiday season to raise widespread awareness and funds for these efforts through the use of media. Due to the success and inspiration generated by Arctic Home in North America in its initial year, the program was expanded to 17 countries in Europe in winter of 2013. And in total, they have raised $2 million to help the polar bears. So, why should we help preserve polar bears? They have an important role in the overall health of the marine environment. They also serve as an important part of the cultures and economies of Arctic people. Ecocentric part. They have intrinsic value. In the anthropocentric view, they are beautiful to look at. They also have economic or commercial value. Their skin and food is used to provide profit for people. Some factors that are important to help preserve polar bears are that we need to reduce climate change, we need to create awareness and do projects like, as I mentioned before in the previous slide.